Josh Sargent. Sargent!
Sargent's there and he scored! Sargent makes room and shoots into the top corner!
Josh Sargent, a kid from O'Fallon, Missouri, who went from youth tournaments in St. Louis to scoring goals in Germany's Bundesliga, the Premier League, representing the United States on the world stage, and most importantly, becoming a Norwich City legend. This is the journey of Josh Sargent, the striker who many now call the most complete forward in the Championship and one of Norwich's best strikers in this century. Born February 20th, 2000, Sargent grew up surrounded by the game. Both parents and siblings play football, and by 8 years old he was already making waves at St. Louis Scott Gallagher, a club that has developed the talents such as Tim Ream. At just 16, he joined IMG Academy in Florida, sharpening his skills at one of America's premier youth programs. Scouts already knew his name, but it was 2017 when the world really took notice.
Yeah, so there are three that I've identified. One is Josh Sargent. He's a striker who he scored 4 goals at the Under-20 World Cup just a few months ago. So
at the Under-17s CONCACAF Championship, he scored 5 goals in 5 matches, carrying the US to the final. Just months later, he made history yet again, becoming the youngest American ever to score at the Under-20s World Cup, finishing with 4 goals and the silver boot. That same year, he was called up to the senior national team. 3 tournaments, 3 age groups, all before turning 18. Few American players and athletes have never risen that fast and never will. What could be next for such talent? Well, it was a trip across the pond, landing in Germany. On September the 20th, 2017, Werder Bremen announced that Sargent would join the club on the 1st of January 2018. He then signed a professional contract on his 18th birthday. He played with the club's under-23 squad in a friendly match and signed his contract on February the 20th, 2018, making him eligible to join the first team for the 2018-19 season. First touch of the match in the 78th minute, the fastest goal by any debutant in the club's history.
Are heading down. There is the full-time whistle, greeted by silence.
But Werder Bremen's struggles in the Bundesliga meant limited service and fewer scoring opportunities. Still, he left Germany with a reputation, a tireless striker who will always put the team first and is a great team player. These attributes, although do not add to his numbers of 13 goals in 72 appearances, did get interest from other teams across Europe. On August the 9th, 2021, Sargent left Werder Bremen to join one of those European teams, and that was the mighty Norwich City, who'd just been promoted to the Premier League. He signed on a 4-year deal for a supposed undisclosed fee, but the report was around about the €9.5 million mark. 5 days later, he made his debut, a 3-0 home defeat against Liverpool, after coming on as a substitute in the 77th minute, in place for his former Werder Bremen teammate, Milot Rashica, who had also signed for Norwich City that summer. He didn't have to wait long for his first goal for Norwich City, but that did come in the EFL Cup, a 6-0 win against Bournemouth, with Josh Sargent bagging 2 of them. The Josh Sargent fairy tale looked like it may be coming to an end, a goal drought that lasted all the way until January. On the 21st of January 2022, Norwich faced relegation battlers Watford in what was a typical 6-pointer. Josh Sargent came away with 2 goals in a 3-0 win for Norwich, one of those being potentially goal of the season. A scorpion kick from the edge of the 6-yard box, Josh Sargent reached his leg back and managed to just connect with the ball coming off the crossbar. An iconic goal, an iconic celebration, and potentially the turning point for Josh Sargent. But that was not to be. In the Premier League, Josh Sargent played 26 games with just 2 goals, those 2 in the Watford game. There were question marks with Josh Sargent missing easy opportunities in games, and people were really questioning whether he was the man to carry Norwich forward. Although he was being played out of his position for a lot of the Premier League games and being pushed out on the right, there were still question marks over around his killer instinct in front of goal. Norwich were relegated, and Josh Sargent faced the battle of the Championship now, a physical league which could potentially lean into more of his attributes around his willingness to run and his physicality. In the 2022-23 season, he scored 13 goals from 40 games. And although he was battling for positions with Teemu Pukki at this time, he was becoming more of a goal threat game by game. But this was to be Teemu Pukki's last year, an iconic Norwich City striker who managed to drag Norwich through the Championship and was one of the most prolific goal scorers they had seen in recent years. They needed someone to step up to the plate, and that was Josh Sargent. In the years to come, Josh Sargent scored 16 goals in 26 games, and then the year after 15 goals in 32, and as this video is being recorded, he has scored 5 goals in the first 4 games. Although he has struggled with fitness and injuries, Josh Sargent is proving to be one of the most clinical strikers Norwich City have seen over the last few years. With his goals per game ratio only just behind the likes of legends of Teemu Pukki and Grant Holt, he is showing truly why he is currently one of the best Championship strikers. Some of the numbers that Josh Sargent was posting in the last few years have rivaled the likes of Erling Haaland and Mo Salah. He has consistently shown an array of finishers, whether it's headers, volleys, instinctive finishes, cute little finishes around the corner, the hallmarks of a complete striker. You only have to look at the certain goals you've seen in the Norwich-Swansea game or the Stoke game, Derby or even Portsmouth. He has everything, and he is the most complete striker in the Championship. With the transfer window just closing, there was multiple interest from big clubs. Teams such as Roma, Brentford and Wolfsburg were all supposedly interested in him, with Wolfsburg even tabling a €21 million bid. However, Josh Sargent said he did not want to move back to Germany, but he was happy at the Pride of Anglia. Whilst all this was happening in his club career, what was happening on the international stage? Sargent's senior debut came in 2018, where he scored in a 3-0 win over Bolivia at just 18 years old. Since then, he's worn the red, white and blue at Nations League finals, Copa America and the World Cup. At Qatar 2022, he started against Wales and Iran, linking play and pressing tirelessly. Whilst he didn't score, his movements created openings for Christian Pulisic and Timothy Weah. But his role remains uncertain, and as of 2025, he has 28 caps and 5 goals, but faces stiff competition from the new generation of US strikers. He was not included in Pochettino's recent squad choice, but he has then been reinstated for this national break. Thoughts of Josh Sargent across the USA football fans is split. Some say he isn't good enough, some say that he should be starting, but the matter of fact is that he has only scored 5 goals in the last 28 appearances, with his last goal coming back all the way in 2019. He made no appearances in 2020, 7 appearances in 2021, 4 appearances in 2022, none in 2023, 4 in 2024, and just the 1 in 2025. Yet within all of those appearances, still no goals since 2019. So how does Sargent compare to his rivals in the US striker pool? Haji Wright delivers big goals like his brace in the Nations League semi-final, but his consistency isn't on Sargent's level. Ricardo Pepi is a young and explosive striker, but still refining his decision-making and still finding his feet within European football. Balogun brought huge hype, but struggled for form last year in France. And Sargent, well, Norwich City fans would call him the most complete striker they've possibly had. Pressing, holding play and finishing effectively. Yes, he may miss the odd 1 or 2 chances, but no matter what, he will give 100%, and if you play the system around Josh Sargent, he will get you goals. Off the pitch, Sargent's life is grounded. He's married to his long-term partner, Kirsten Lepping, in 2020, and in 2022, they welcomed their daughter. At just 21, he was balancing family life with a professional career in Europe, a rare achievement on and off the pitch. He speaks fluent German, enjoys music, and plays guitar, and is known among his teammates for his humour and laid-back personality. All of these things have potentially contributed to him staying in Norfolk. Yes, there was that offer from Wolfsburg to try and tempt him back to Germany, but in recent interviews, Josh Sargent has said that he is happy in Norwich, that football and family decisions had to be made, and whilst he was scoring at Norwich, it was the best decision to stay here. So what does this mean for Josh Sargent, his future for Norwich, and his future in the USA setup? From a kid in Missouri to a teenager making history at World Cups, to a striker putting up numbers alongside Haaland and Salah, Josh Sargent has proven himself every step of the way. The competition for the US number 9 shirt is fierce, but with his finishing, work rate and consistency, I truly believe Josh Sargent may be the forward that America has been waiting for. And the next chapter of his career? Who knows? But that's still to come.